Hello, everyone. Let me just put my camera so then you can see me. Hi. All right. So I am the product manager for data visualizations in Power BI, and I am in charge of whatever you can just drag and drop into the report canvas. Does everything there, like text boxes, images, data visualizations, slicers, all of that belongs to my team, which is called Core Visuals team in Power BI. And since I took this position back in January of this year, the plan was to like set up a very strong roadmap and as well work with the community to develop and deliver these amazing features. So you have seen the subtitle and the margin or padding around the container. That was one. The other one was the new car visual, the button slicer, and like we have delivering some great stuff. But one of our primary objectives is to start working on the fundamental pieces of data visualizations. So you're gonna see later on some improvements in the axis, legend, and other stuff. But at this moment, one thing that we as well want to start doing is improving graphs, plots, and charts, which means all those shapes that you see in columns, bars, error bars. We want to improve lines, for example, the line charts, area charts, all those components that graph and show in this kind of visualizations. We want to improve. Markers for bubbles as well is another element that we want to take to the next level. So it's a huge roadmap and a lot of things that we want to do, but we want to start with columns, bars, and ribbons, which is something that you're going to see next week. Now, let me share my screen so I can show you what you're going to get. I'm excited to show you this one. Let me see. I think this is the window. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right. I have here a ribbon chart, but all these options will work as well for any cluster. No, I'm sorry, stacked column charts. If I move and I change it to this one, the options will be similar. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start with this visualization. You're going to go into, or you're going to be able to go into the formatting settings. And if you go all the way to the columns, this is something new that you're going to see now. Apply settings to was something that never used to exist in columns, or only in line charts. So if you right now open your Power BI desktop and create a line chart with multiple series, you're gonna see apply settings to, and then you can select a individual series and then change the color and line style and all that stuff. But columns now will have a very similar approach. And that's why, and the reason of that is because we want to keep all the formatting settings for multiple visualizations consistent. So if you're new or you're often report creator, you can always find the properties under the same sections in the same way. So it's always consistent. So that's the first change that you're gonna see. Columns now have this kind of new structure. And this category has multiple groups: apply settings to, color, border, and layout. The color is the color of the shape in each of these blocks, or in the whole column. If you don't have any legend and you just end up with a single column, then that's the color. We can select individual series, or if we go to all, you won't be able to change the color for now. In the future, we want you to, like, I'm just gonna say something like, maybe I have a column chart with 30 provinces or 50 states, and I want to emphasize one single state. In this case, if I am in the US, I want to emphasize Texas, and I want all the other states to be gray. So in the future, you're gonna be able to go to all, change the color to gray or any kind of like black if I want, and all series will turn black. And then I can select Texas and then make Texas green or whatever color I want to make it. But right now, we're just gonna deactivate it And if you want to change the color, you need to select each individual series. And you can see here, I'm selecting each individual series and I can see the color that it has been assigned. Another nice thing is now you can go to all and change the transparency to all the series like this. That's really good because maybe you have two series, one that is sales, and then the last month is like a forecast, and maybe you want the forecast to be a little bit more transparent, or maybe you want certain series to not be that relevant, and you want the one in particular to be more highlighted, or maybe it's important for you to let me go to grid lines. I'm gonna select this one to solid. So maybe you want the grid line to be noticeable, a little bit more noticeable than usual, just for you to read this information a little bit better. So then you know exactly, like more or less, how much of these columns are based on the axis. And I'm sorry, the grid lines, because now they can pass through the bars and give you a little bit more sense of the proportion. There are many reasons why you might want to use the transparency. The other one is border. When we expand the border, we're going to see multiple options that are going to be only available when we turn this on. And this option, it's very simple. We can select the color of the border around these shapes. Or I can just make it easier for me and just match the color from the default. Now, if I zoom in, you can see that the original color now is around it, and I can increase that border around my shape. I can as well select a individual series and then select a different border. I can turn this off and then make it a certain blue that I think is more like in my, who knows, like it's more accurate, or maybe it leads into the kind of design that I'm looking for. But you can see that you have a lot of control here. Transparency as well is another feature that you can use for that particular border, and you can obviously change the size of the line. So far, questions regarding these properties?
Anyone? Yeah. Can you apply like conditional formatting to like a specific, I guess, cube?
Yeah, yeah, you can apply conditional formatting to the color, but it needs to be a single series. And the plan is to allow in the future, we want as well to have conditional formatting for the color when you have multiple series. The only thing that we need to investigate is what are we going to do with the legend? Because if you have, let's take an example, this color blue. I want the developed series to change the color based on conditional formatting. As soon as I do that, I'm going to have multiple rules when I say, hey, if it's less than 1 million, I want to be red. If it's more than 1 million, I want to be blue. Now that I have two more colors, how am I supposed to define developed? Because developed right now is for blue. If I apply conditional formatting and I have 7 colors depending parameters, then where should I put that information? Because it's going to end up misleading users, or the axis or the legend will never match whatever information you have. And this is only applying one, like conditional formatting to one series. If you want to do the same thing with multiple series, now the whole legend and the way to read this visualization will be completely messed up. So we do want to enhance it, but we need to solve the problem with the legend first. One option that we are thinking is maybe having a collapsible area where you expand the developed, in this case that I applied conditional formatting, and then I can see the parameters and the colors assigned to those particular shapes. So then people can at least understand why developed doesn't have any color assigned, but you can expand and see the parameters used and what colors are given by each parameter or assigned by each parameter. It will be really, it's going to be honestly really messy for people that read information when they have stacked series or dynamic series and conditional formatting for each color. But for some reason, people are asking a lot for it. Maybe they haven't think about what is going to happen with the axis, but we want to explore that in the future.
Okay. Okay for now, thank you.
Another question?
No, we're okay for now. Thanks.
Perfect. All right. Transparency is something else that we want to add conditional formatting in the future. So then you can apply conditional formatting dynamically based on other parameters. So that's something else. And our plan is to allow you to have conditional formatting everywhere, even the width as well as another place that eventually you'll see FX buttons in here too. All right, so that's what it is, color and border. Now, the other one that you're gonna see only when you select all series is this layout option. I'm just gonna collapse the columns, the color and the border, and then I'm gonna expand layout so that we can see this one. This one is pretty cool because it has the reverse order, which we already had this one before. Just changes the order. Maybe, and why is this important? Well, maybe I want to move my legend to the right side. And what used to happen is, to the right, center right. What used to happen is exactly what you're saying. The legend has the green at the top and the dark purple at the bottom, but we were showing this information by default in this order. And people were like, no, I want them to be aligned with my legend. That's why we implemented this one like a year ago or more. And now you're gonna see that option under layout. Before it was in the color section. So you used to open up the color and then you used to see each color in each series. And then at the very bottom, you used to see reverse order. So now you won't see it under color. That doesn't mean that we removed that option. That means that we just move it into under layout. And it's doing exactly the same thing as used to do. The other option that is completely new is sort by value. The sort by value, it changes the order of each of these series depending which is the largest and the smallest. In this case, the green one is the largest, so we start with this one, and then the second largest is the blue, and so on. And that's why you can see that some of these series are changing the order. You can actually reverse that order as well by playing with these two controls. And now I can make the largest go all the way to the top and the smallest to the bottom. So a lot of options in here. Space between categories is a little bit tricky to understand, and I'm gonna try my best with the limitation of my language to explain it. And if you have any questions, please ask me, and we can try to like remove all kind of concerns or questions regarding this option. So space between categories is something that we already had. We just make the, like, what we are doing here is you're managing the space. And by doing so, the column is looking thinner or like wider. That's all we are doing. Nothing new. But the other part that it can be a little bit hard to explain is this one, space between series. This has been a lot of it has been a request from many years, and even within Microsoft, many people were like asking us to implement this, and we didn't do this really quickly because we realized that it was very complex to achieve it properly. And still, you need to be really wise when you use this option. Really wise. My recommendation is don't use it unless you feel some kind of, or you met certain conditions. Otherwise, yeah, just keep everything together. So what the space between series does is I can just add space between them. And that's all it's doing, is adding that kind of gap between each series. And it looks really nice. Like one amazing thing about this option is when you have multiple colors, sometimes those colors get together. Like in this case, this green and this green and this blue. They, for some reason, in this case, because the order, they had a chance to be together. But maybe there are other colors that are so similar, and when you see them together, it's really tough to distinguish them, especially when the columns are so small. And by using this separation, it's super easy for the eye to distinguish the boundaries between them. Even though that we implemented the border, maybe even the space increases that separation, the human cognition, um, that humans usually interpret much easier than when they are together. Now, the situation with this one is we are craving the size of the series. So what you are seeing in here, it has now been decreased, except for the first series that is touching the zero line. So that zero line, this one will never be craved because I cannot remove more space from the zero line to the inside. But the rest of the series will now be being craved. Like I'm gonna start borrowing some pixels from it to make it smaller so then I can get that gap. The more I increase, the more I'm taking away from those series. But you can see if you keep your eye on the ones at the bottom while I'm reducing and increasing the space, you just keep your eyes on the first uh, series at the bottom, and you're gonna see they don't change. They stay the same size, but the other ones are now being compromised. The size is not the same. And at some point, when you have really tiny series like this one, we won't continue increasing more. Like it will stay in one single line. Maybe the other ones will have more space, but those in particular will always look like a tiny line.
Can I ask
The,
something, Miguel? What does the tooltip do on the white space? How does it interpret that?
Nothing. You need to
Right.
move the mouse or hover right in the series shape. If you're in the middle, it won't display anything.
Right. So that's why you're saying we have to be careful using that option
Super
there.
super careful. This is important for many reports when you need to meet accessibility. People that have some kind of color spectrum limitations, they are not able to distinguish colors really well. So then you use like serial labels or you use patterns, but as well you use good contrast between colors and maybe you can separate them in this way. So then it's so much easier for that audience to read your data. That's one way. Another reasons that people do this is just for appearance. If I design reports with some kind of 1 pixel separation, automatically I'm increasing the look and feel of my report. It's looking more modern, more like refreshing. So there are multiple reasons why this is from just style to accessibility that you can take advantage of it. However, always be careful because the reason that many like we never implemented this option is because it's really damaging data visualization readability. Like now the fact that I'm seeing this so small, I'm already misleading users that they might think that this is the size of the series. Now, if you don't want to compromise the size of those series or those shapes, we have this toggle at the very bottom, which is says series explosion. When you turn on that one, this is what's going to happen. We won't crave or we won't borrow any pixels from the series. But what we will do is we will explode. We will start adding instead borrowing from the series. We're going to add now pixels between those series, and this is and that's the reason why you can see that automatically the axis has been removed. If I turn this one off again, I can see the axis. If I turn it on, no more. Can somebody tell me why we need to do that? Is somebody able to guess that?
White noise ratio. Proportion.
Okay, go ahead.
It's because the axis for January would be different to the axis to February because of the way they've been explained.
There'll be white lines.
Are you getting that, Miguel?
That's correct. That's correct. So I was trying to access to one file that I did yesterday to show you, but for some reason that virtual machine is not working anymore. But I'll try to explain this. What I did is I put one like January and February. I put one with two large columns, and in the other month I put like 9 different series in small series. If you see them side by side without exploring them, the first one will be way taller than the second one. But once I explode them and I add certain amount of percentage, the February will be larger. It will be taller than February. Why? Because in February, I'm adding just like, who knows, 5 pixels for the first series, and that's it, because I only have 2. So I will only add 5 pixels. But the other one that I have 9 or 10, I'm adding 5 plus that 10 or 9 spaces. And now those spaces are increasing the height of the column. So I cannot use any axis anymore because it's completely inaccurate. I hope that makes sense. That's why the explosion is really good if you want to see the size, the actual size of the series, but it maybe it's not that relevant for you to see the height of the column. And many people are gonna say, well, I think it's useless to not see the height. Well, the reason is we already did that for ribbons. Ribbons are okay to not display the whole height accurately, because what you want to do in here, let me just go back to the columns. I'm gonna reset this. What you want in here is you want to see the ranking, which is not only distribution and comparison analysis is what ribbon charts give you, but as well ranking, which is another great analysis type that this visual allows you to see. And when you explode them like this, all it matters to you is to see which is the most important. In this case, for example, from July to August, I can see that the lowest, which was qualified, went all the way to the largest in August. That's really important for me, and I can see how much how much it was back then and how much is in August. And I can see the proportion. So that size, that comparison between here and here, and see the connection is what it matters. That's why explosion for certain type of analysis, it really makes sense. But in other cases, it might not. It might be a little bit problematic, and you can easily mislead people. So you can use explosion only in cases like that. Try to read more about when to use the separation. We actually call them erosion because we are eroding the series, and explosion because we're separating the series. So just try to read more about it and see the opportunities you have to use these both cases. Because we are allowing this erosion stuff, this is something that never happened before in Power BI, which is going to be new next month, or next week. And that is when you create a ribbon chart, by default, it's always explosion. You never have the axis. And many people were saying, hey, I want to see my ribbon chart and I want to see the axis. Now you're going to be able to do that. You can turn off the series explosion, and you need to turn on the secondary axis. And this secondary axis will allow you now to see for first time the ribbon chart with axis. Again, with the risk of eroding them if you want to erode them, or just keep it 0 and it will look like this. All the wizards of reverse order and sort value and the space, all of it will be as well available for the ribbon chart and for the bar chart. Like all columns and bars and ribbon is what we are improving. Questions so far?
Can I ask something about the bars, the previous example you were giving us, Miguel? Is it on your roadmap to make the bars round at some point? Because at the moment they're just rectangles. That's something that you're thinking about.
Yeah, we want to make them rounded. The two options that we want to add is to make them rounded in every single corner, like bottom and top. And the second option will be only at the top. And whatever is touching the 0 line will be straight. We were so close to launch in December that feature, But
Right.
we realized that this erosion explosion was really problematic, and we decided let's keep the nice to have at the very end of the whole work for columns, lines, and markers, and let's do just the fundamental aspects. So we believe that those rounded edges is just like a cherry on top of the cake. It's not bringing much value. So that's
Correct.
why we just hold on that one, but we are not giving up on allowing that option.
Thank you. So you heard it here first. That's coming soon. Thanks, Miguel.
Yeah. Any other question regarding the shapes, lines, and markers?
Yes. If you can put the bar chart again, please, with that separation.
The bar,
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the previous one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the
we can.
previous tab.
Previous one. Yeah.
We had another tab. I think it's the. Which was it?
Just change to bar chart.
Oh, okay. I can change it to bar chart. And then you go to the bars, same thing, color, layout, and here we can explode them, or we can erode them.
Yeah, I just want to know if you, yeah.
Okay, so yep, it's available for bar charts too. So far, so good. Now
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead, please ask.
No more questions. Go ahead.
All right. The other one that you're gonna see, which is quite nice, is in the ribbon chart. Now there's this new option, and I forgot to mention ribbon charts in the past. If you open Power BI Desktop right now, you're gonna see that it's called ribbons, and then when you expand ribbons, all the colors for the series are there. We didn't do that. We wanted to keep it consistent again. So if this is modifying the columns, then we call these columns. And if you want to modify these connectors, that's where you go into the ribbons, and here's where you can change whatever you want from these ribbons. And I can increase the transparency, I can match the series, or I can make them any color I want. I can select a particular item and make it any color I want, like this, maybe. Who knows? Something like this. All right. Something else that you can do. I'm gonna go back. And so something else that you can do is you can go into the border again and add a border around it. Maybe you want to emphasize this in particular, not the rest. So maybe the border there makes more sense. And you can change the color, you can change the thickness, transparency as well, all those nice options. And again, you might think, okay, this is like a too much, but for data storytelling, these kind of controls can change dramatically how people with not much experience in data visualizations can understand, read, or take actions from your data. Having these options available can take that experience to the next level if you know how to use them and take advantage of them properly. If you go as well to all, you're gonna see the layout. Layout has only one single control, and all it does is it separates those ribbons from your columns. So then it gives another like a break principle. It's a human cognition principle that keeps things in a better way for you to digest information. But you can use it if you think that this is useful. I kind of like that kind of space. It really seems quite nice. It improves the design dramatically, but it's up to you. This is another nice to have that is just appealing to the eye. That's the kind of new options that you're gonna see for ribbons. Now there is another feature that we are adding in December, and that's data labels. This is a powerful feature that is not gonna be too difficult for me to explain because it's straightforward. In any Cartesian, you're gonna go into the data labels and you're gonna see now a ton of options compared to what we used to have. In these data labels, you're gonna see title, value, and detail. Title is any value that you wanna add, and we can give you already some kind of defaults depending the data visualization you use. For example, if you use 100% column chart, you're gonna see the series name and you're gonna see the like something else, and so on. In this case, I can have the series name, which is revenue open. That's my value right here. But I can change that to something else to be dynamic, or I can use DAX, any other field, whatever I think is more appropriate for my title. And so I'm gonna select here, and I'm gonna go to custom, and then you can add data from this place. Maybe, who knows, my country. I'm just gonna select something, and then you can see here the country with the largest amount of sales as an example. You can make that different color. You can change the transparency of that text. You can increase the size. You can increase, change the family, and it won't affect the rest or the value. It will only affect the title. The value is what you already have by default, which is the revenue open that I use for my secondary axis. And if I don't want to show that value, I can exchange it for something else, maybe close percentage. So now I'm gonna use that, and I can just go to custom and say, hey, I want to be whatever, like decimals or whatever I want, and then it's gonna show whatever I need in here. I'm gonna say I want to be like 2 decimals. And then percentage, like that. Or maybe I don't want any space between the percentage and the value. I want it together. So now it's together. Whatever you want to do, you can use this format code, and you can make wonders with your values and your titles. Detail is the other one as well available. That's an extra item that you can turn on. And this one is going to allow you to add like variances or whatever text you want. Like you can use this one in any way you please. Let me see if title. Yeah, I'm using a trial, but yours is gonna work obviously. But here you add data, and it will add another value here that it can be text, number, whatever you want, and you can change as well the font, the color, transparency, everything else. Just the same as like title, value, and detail is basically the same stuff. Why are we doing this? Because maybe you want the value to be first, to be the first showing, and maybe another value. So then you can go here, select the secondary axis value, and then here something for like a text, and here maybe some kind of icon or whatever you want. So you can really take this one in any way you want. So that's why we want to keep them similar, just in case that you want to move the value in the first place and entitle to the second place. You can have that flexibility. There are other options like the layout, if you want to have a single line or multi-line like this. So now it's multi-line is when it's on top of each other, and single line is beside each other. And you can change the background, which you already know that by turning this one on. For some reason it's not functioning for me right now. You can make this whole thing change color, and we already have that in the tool, so it's not new. That's what the data labels is doing. Is going to help you to improve the labels in your Cartesians way better than in the past. Questions?
So I have one. Sorry. Are you planning to bring total column at some point?
I didn't hear that. What was the question?
Yes. Are you planning to bring the total column to the graph like you do in waterfall chart? You can select total yes or no.
Yeah, and that's for the waterfall, right?
Yeah, but are you planning to do the same for the bar chart?
I guess what he's saying is having a total column on this blue chart.
At the moment, at the moment, I have to do several things behind to create a total column.
Right.
The series.
Yeah, yes, it is planned. It is planned, and that I'm just thinking that part of the work is into the axis, the primary axis. I think it's too early for me to talk about it, but I can give you some kind of hint of where our mindset is. The
I want
idea
to get
is
into
to
trouble, Miguel.
the idea is you can see the axis and then you can add a other bucket, and that other bucket can be any kind of like categories that you want to be all in one single place, or it can be a value from a total or any kind of like maybe you want to see a column that shows the average in the last 10 years, and then you can compare that against the rest. Who knows? But that other bucket can be used for you to get what you were asking.
That's good because do another in my bar charts and stuff like it's quite painful at the moment.
Yeah.
So having to be able to do top bosses and then everything else would be great.
So what do you do at the moment, Carlos? You do a separate bar and they put it on the side.
Yes, that's exactly right. I have to create a table. I have to create a table there just for, let's say, for a category and then a total. Then I have to put that into the graph.
So you're overlaying
Yeah,
different.
kind of like overlay.
Yeah,
Then I put transparent.
Yeah.
So the bar is there, transparent. Then I have, it's quite a bit complicated.
Right.
To do that. It is possible, yeah, but it takes really a long time to create that. And in the waterfall, it's quite simple. And I create the total there. But the appearance, the visual of the waterfall, for so many people they don't like. Plus, I don't like this graph. Take it. Yes, it's really useful that total, but they don't like the graph. So they prefer the bars like this. But then they ask me, where is the total bar? That's okay. I have to create it, and it's not.
Well, this is my advice. If you want to see the total, and they want to see the total, my advice with experience doing this kind of reports for over 10 years will be just use a reference line, and that reference line will represent the total, and then you can put a label saying this is the total based on whatever you want to show. So instead seeing the column, you will replace the same information by using the line. That can be an easy approach without putting much work or overlaying visualizations, and always delivering the same message or using that as a reference the same way as a column will do. The line has the advantages that goes across all columns. So it's so much easier for the eye to compare each column based on that total. Way better than the column. That's my advice. If you ask me, like, how can you work around it? The other thing that I can say is after this release, there is another release for cluster column charts. Right now we're focusing on stacked, but in February you're gonna see cluster enhancements, and one of them is overlap, and that means you can have now two series, one with your value, and another one behind that represents maybe previous year or previous period. And that in the one behind, remember that now we support transparency, right? So you can make the one behind 100% transparent, and then the outline completely visible. So now you can see that outlined column in the back, and then another one on top of it with the value, and it will be a way better reference as well. Again, I'm giving a little bit of information that I shouldn't, but I'm just giving some hints of the kind of things and flexibility that is coming in order for people like you to get better ways to manage those messages to your audience.
Secrecy is safe with us, just for a bit. Thanks, Miguel.
Any other question?
I have a generic question. Is there a plan to have a native SPC chart visual in PBI anytime soon?
IBCS or what?
SPC, so special process control charts in PBI.
It's a little bit choppy. I don't hear the whole sentence.
Sorry,
So
is there a plan to have a SPC chart visual?
So SPC charts.
Yeah.
What's that stand for?
It's like special process control. So it's got
Special process control. You know what that is? I don't know what that is.
statistical process.
Oh, statistical process control. Is that it?
Yeah.
Not ring any bell?
Yeah, that's part of the work that we want to do more for Cartesians, because they usually have a lot of these kind of statistical enhancements. in the way that I see it, based on what community representatives are telling me, is that before even adding more complexity and high analytical settings and controls, not only to the report creator, but as well the consumer should be able to go to a menu and easily access to multiple options that display these settings. But it doesn't make sense. Why should we start doing that advanced options when the most basic stuff it's completely impossible to handle? I'll give you an example. Axis. So here we have this visualization, and we can see the secondary axis in the left side. And if I want to display my axis in intervals of 10 millions, and I go to my secondary axis, there is no interval management. I am stuck with whatever the system is giving me, and it changes depending the size of my visual. So if I have this size, then I will end up with an interval of 50 millions. And it will, so that's a very basic stuff. And another one is I should have some kind of major and minor ticks and as well axis and grid lines. So then it's easier for me to follow up or reference that information in my secondary axis to the rest of my columns, lines, or whatever I have. That option doesn't exist, and it exists in Excel since Excel was born many years ago. Those are fundamental stuff. Why do we want to add more highly statistical stuff when the basic is not even there? So that's why our primary objective is let's try to get all this sorted out completely, like full management, full control over every component, just like you can see now that you can manage basically everything in the shapes for columns. We want to do the same thing for primary axis, secondary axis, legend, labels, full control. Once we have those components in place, it's like building a foundation from a house. That's the foundation. Now the whole infrastructure of Power BI will be capable to take analytical or high statistical functionalities to the next level quite faster, cheaper, and easier, because we already created those blocks from the foundation of the house to now be able to build the walls and the roof. I hope that clarifies that question.
Thanks, Miguel.
Any other question?
I think we're okay for now. Back to you.
Back to me. All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna show you a little bit of the whole thing that is coming. Just as an idea, these are ideas. If you're aware, we have a channel in LinkedIn called PBI Core Visuals, and there we engage the community. We use a hashtag, which is hashtag PBI Core Visuals all together to capture and answer questions, requests, problems, file bugs, or whatever you find. We engage the community. That's something else that we are doing now, that we like the whole community is working with us to make sure that the development is exactly what everybody's expecting. And what I'm going to show you right now is just a summary of ideas that we collected over 10 years, and we create these epic ideas. Imagine that we end up classifying around 500 categories, and we summarize them. We categorize them in one huge idea, one epic idea. And those epic ideas is how we can translate into development, like feature development. This is, and what I'm going to show you in a moment is more or less what you could see developed in the future. It's like a, how can I say, it's a reference. It's not exactly what's going to happen, but it's a really good reference if you want to have an idea what is coming. Let me share my Figma. I hope you can see the Figma now.
Yes.
All right, so these are the epic ideas. And again, this is basically we going through all ideas in social media and Power BI or fabricideas.com and all these places, and then classifying them and say, hey, all these ideas should go into this bucket. All these other ideas should go to this other bucket. For example, primary axis. Here's one idea, and this is based on many other ideas, right? Like advanced axis hierarchy settings. An example is maybe you want, when you have hierarchy axis, You want to have one level to be white, another one gray, another one blue, and then change the color for the lower level to dark blue and maybe another font style, who knows. So that's full of like control. Maybe you want a separator. That separator not only affects the axis, but it goes all the way up into the chart area and so on. Like all those ideas, like expanding collapse categories or these like levels of the categorical axis, minor and major ticks. So this is a minor tick here between the series, and the major one is the one that separates them. Other bucket, which is what I said. Maybe you want another section here that represents another value or that summarizes a bunch of values into one single column or plot or line, then the other bucket will be there. The interval control, if you have numerical axis numerical data type in your primary axis, then you can say, hey, I want to display the values every 10. Or maybe if you have dates and you want to have like a imagine we have a lot of dates in here, right, in the primary axis, and maybe you want to have a tick in every Sunday of the month, every Sunday of the week. Sorry, every Sunday you'll see a tick. So then it's easy for you to know when every week starts and when it ends. That kind of control, and so on. Like there are many ideas here that belongs to this huge epic idea. For the and just for you to have an idea, look at it, how beautiful this is. Like all these are things that we need to do in order to really take data visualizations to the next level, but it's a lot. So a lot of people are coming back with more and more ideas, and we are trying to really consolidating them into these epic ideas. And here is how it looks when we are working on them. Many people were asking that they want to have, for the new car visual, they want to have one container that carries all cards, and that's what you have right now with the new car visual. And then people were asking, hey, I want to have more like reference values here, and that's what we launched last month. So now we are supporting all this stuff, the scrolling and pagination, where you can move to another cards quite easily, etc. And then the next one is actions. People put cards and then they create transparent buttons just to put them in front of the card. So then when somebody clicks on that card, they can go to another page or trigger any bookmark or do whatever they think is necessary for that particular consumer or report user to trigger an action. So we want to keep it simple, and we want to give control to actions in the tooltip. So then you can like attach particular actions in that card. Like we have multiple cards here, so then you can say, hey, when somebody hovers here and see the tooltip, I want to let them click on a bookmark. But this one, I want them to go to another dashboard by using this URL website. And each card will have full control over their individual actions. So maybe one card will have drill through, and another one will have bookmarks. Who knows? But we're gonna give you control to trigger actions in every single card. And then we want later on to expand that new card and add a trend. Then you can choose between line chart, area chart, column chart, or bullet chart in that section. Not only that, but maybe you want to use like SVG. I think people are using SVG to display charts. So maybe whatever we are showing here is not that useful for you. You want very specific, and you want to build that visualization using SVG, and then you can use this given area to display that chart. A lot of flexibility as well. And then small multiples. Once you have the trends, the reference labels, and all the stuff, the actions, now you can split your cards into categories. And that's how the whole major group of epic ideas will be finished. And like that, we have a lot. Like this is for Cartesians, then we have for slicers, for the metrics, part of holes, maps, style, and conditional formatting, and interactivity. And I'm still missing a lot of more columns But right now, so far, is what we have been collecting, and there are more stuff to do.
So Miguel, what's your preferred method to get feedback and ideas? Is through PBI Core Visuals on LinkedIn or fabric.ideas.com? What's your preferred method?
Okay, so in next month, I'm gonna publish all these ideas publicly to everyone so that you can go see, read them. And if you have more ideas, regardless what we are already displaying, you can just click on the link that we'll give you, and that's gonna take you right into Fabric Ideas. And then you can vote on that particular item or epic idea, or even add comments saying, hey, I'll give you an example. Let's see the one that is coming soon, which is the list and dropdown. So here we have the search box improvements, copy and paste a list in Excel, and then paste it in the list or dropdown, etc. Maybe here there is something else that we forgot, and that is super important, that it should be part of the dropdown and list new slicer. You can go to that particular Power BI epic idea that we will create. You can go into the comment section and then just add it there, and then we will capture it and improve and refresh that epic idea. So we are literally listening all the feedback, and trust me, I think I open up on Pandora box, because now I'm like trying to get as much as possible and try to organize everything. But I think that's what is going to make the team successful, is how well we work with all of you, how good you work with us. And that's what we are changing. Now, in January, I'm going to publish in LinkedIn and X and other social media channels where exactly is going to be all this information consolidated in one single place, so then you can explore and start voting and commenting. So soon you're going to hear from me about this huge approach or huge work.
That's fantastic. Thank you. What else? Right. I think you've dazzled us with all this stuff that's coming out, Miguel. Amazing stuff.
My pleasure.
Right, shall we wait till another? Just take one more, two questions, and we're going to grab some pizza. Any final thoughts from anyone? Want to ask anything else?
Explore them.
Yes, not getting ideas here, Miguel. But I think I speak for everyone here using Power BI, and I'll say a very big thank you for everything you've come up with, and the work you're doing with your team is groundbreaking. So thank you very much, and a final round of applause for Miguel.
All right, thank you so much. This applause is for all of you. You are the one creating this whole thing. I'm just managing it, but you all deserve the credit.
Thank you very much, Miguel. And we'll speak soon.
See ya.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.